Zane wiped sweat off his brow, though the air in the supposedly abandoned outpost was frigid. He'd stepped onto the colony like a man who thought he owned it, striding past empty corridors and blinking alien consoles as if he belonged. The place smelled faintly of ozone and something else. Something sharp. Something alive. He told himself it was probably just his imagination, though he had a creeping feeling that imagination had claws. He muttered under his breath, "First man here. No witnesses. Nothing to slow me down." The words felt ironic as his foot caught a stray cable, sending him sprawling against a blinking panel. Sparks sizzled in response, and a disembodied AI voice purred. "Careful, human. Something's bite." Zane coughed, straightened his jacket, and shrugged. Friendly warning or flotation? Hard to tell these days. The corridors stretched longer than they should, twisting with strange architecture that reminded him of a cat's tail, curved, unpredictable, and with sharp edges. His hand brushed over a console that hummed unexpectedly, and a holographic display flickered to life, outlining schematics of the station and highlighting every door in bright red. Every exit. Locked. Zane froze. Perfect. Just perfect. Empty house, my ass. A soft sound made him turn. Nothing. A flicker of movement near the far end caught his eye. She appeared, sleek, feline, and unnervingly graceful. Her movements were liquid, each step measured but teasing, like she was both playing and hunting. Zane blinked. Cute, but lethal. Definitely lethal, in more ways than one. He reminded himself, do not flirt with the enemy. Or do. It might be his only chance. He tried the first door. Locked. Then the second. Locked. The third one offered a hissing beep in response to his touch, and the AI voice murmured, "Patience, human. Or what you call patience." Zane backed away, tripping over an oddly shaped crate and landing flat on his face. Pain shot through his ribs, and he groaned. Maybe not the first man here. Maybe the first idiot. The Catwoman's eyes gleamed from the shadows. A tail flicked with precision, tapping a stray cable that sparked, teasing him like a toy he couldn't quite catch. Zane's mind raced. He'd trained for alien encounters, studied tactics, and memorized schematics. Yet here he was, outsmarted by a walking cat pun, and it was humiliatingly erotic. "She's testing me," he muttered. "Testing courage, wit, and apparently my ability to not look like a fool." He moved cautiously, stepping over scattered gadgets that blinked and beeped like impatient observers. Every time he approached a console, the AI interpreted his fumbling as deliberate curiosity. "Careful, human. That handle is not a toy," it warned, voice dripping with mockery. Zane's fingers twitched. "Not a toy? You mean I can't just use it?" Sparks sizzled as his fingers brushed it anyway. The panel flashed, and the Catwoman twitched an amused ear, almost invisible, almost casual. The outpost wasn't empty. Every sound, his heartbeat, a flick of a tail, the subtle whirring of alien tech, felt amplified. He tried a vent, but it shrank before he could squeeze through. "Seriously?" he muttered. "It's like the place knows me." It did. Or rather, she did. The Catwoman prowled silently, always at the edge of perception, watching him like he was both prey and entertainment. He couldn't decide which was worse. Zane stumbled into a control console, pressing buttons at random. Lights flashed. Holograms spun. And the AI voice sighed audibly. "Humans. Always so enthusiastic." Enthusiastic? He'd just nearly electrocuted himself. "Yeah, enthusiastic," he agreed dryly. "Enthusiastic enough to die in an empty house with a cat that talks." The tail flicked again. He swallowed hard. "She's probably thinking about more than just my survival." He shivered involuntarily. He tried reasoning. "Look, I'm just here for reconnaissance. I mean no harm. Promise." His words hung in the corridor, swallowed by the low hum of machinery. The Catwoman stepped forward slightly, her eyes glinting. Not threatening, not welcoming. Evaluating. Testing. Zane felt exposed in a way that went beyond physical vulnerability. Every human flaw, his impatience, his curiosity, his clumsiness, was on display. The AI's voice changed tone, almost playful, almost adult in its inflection. Perhaps you underestimate her. Zane froze. He had. Every human tactic, every confident stride, every brash assumption had failed so far. He realized he wasn't here to conquer. He was here to survive and impress, in more ways than one. The Catwoman crouched low, her tail curling elegantly, inviting a challenge, daring him to try. Zane tested a door again. Locked. The air shimmered with tension. His human pride bristled, and something else, desperation? Desire, joined the mix. Every movement he made was mirrored by subtle counters, a tilted head, a flick of ears, a shift of weight. She wasn't just guarding the station, she was gauging him. How clever, how bold, how adaptable, and how human. He took a deep breath, realizing the absurdity of the situation. Here he was, a trained explorer, trapped in a supposed empty outpost, outmaneuvered by a genetically engineered cat-human sentinel, and somehow, the thought that he might actually be enjoying the challenge made him groan. Why do I always end up in situations like this? He muttered to himself. First the colonies, now a cat with attitude, and apparently expectations. He took another step, careful, deliberate, as if every movement counted. The Catwoman flicked her tail again, a warning or perhaps an invitation. Zane's hands twitched toward a nearby console, the closest thing he could use as leverage. Sparks hissed. The AI's voice purred. Proceed, human. Or hesitate, it's all equally amusing. Zane gritted his teeth, straightened his jacket, and muttered. Empty house or not. I'm not leaving, not yet. He wasn't sure if he was talking about the outpost, the Catwoman, or the ridiculous situation he'd gotten himself into. Probably all three. The tail flicked again, faster this time, and a low, throaty sound rumbled in the distance. He paused. Heart racing, he realized that the true challenge wasn't the doors, the AI, or even the alien tech, it was her. Her judgment, her game, and her utterly feline insistence that he couldn't just walk away. Zane exhaled, a mix of frustration and thrill. Okay, he whispered. I get it. I'm trapped. Fine. But I'm not giving up. Not to a cat, and certainly not to a challenge that smells like trouble. He rubbed the back of his neck, glanced at the sleek, impossibly agile form at the edge of his vision, and thought, humanity may be messy, flawed, and ridiculous, but it was clever. And clever might just be enough. Zane had barely caught his breath when the Catwoman appeared closer than he expected. Her movements were impossibly smooth, almost teasing. He froze, staring at the swish of her tail as it curled around a console. Okay, not threatening, just testing, probably. His voice cracked despite the bravado he tried to summon. The AI snickered electronically. Testing or toying. Humans are so predictable. Zane muttered. If I survive this, I'm never volunteering for solo missions again. He made a move toward another door, hoping for a quick escape. The Catwoman mirrored him in silence, each step calculated, almost hypnotic. She tilted her head, ears flicking like radar dishes scanning for missteps. Zane's brain scrambled. The tactical options were limited, the doors unresponsive, the gadgets blinking uselessly. The only thing that seemed alive and entirely in control was her. His pride bristled. Fine, he whispered. If you want a game, let's play. He tried sliding past her, feinting toward a console, only for her tail to flick a switch. Sparks flew, a panel spun, and an alarm-like chime echoed. Zane yelped. All right, that's aggressive. And creative. Too creative. He realized she wasn't just fast. She was thinking 3 steps ahead, and every movement of his own was being countered in real time. The adult humor of this situation struck him suddenly. She's got a firm grip on more than just the controls. Every attempt to leave became a dance. He ducked, rolled, leaned, crawled, and leapt with surprising coordination, trying to anticipate her reactions. The AI narrated, dripping with sarcastic amusement. Humans, bold, awkward, and eternally optimistic. Zane muttered under his breath. Optimistic? I'm panicking beautifully. His hands brushed against walls, panels, and gadgets, each contact setting off a chain of blinking lights, buzzing noises, and flickering shadows that made him look like a frantic mime performing in zero gravity. The Catwoman's laughter, or something like it, a low, throaty chime, echoed faintly. She vaulted over a control console with feline grace, landing silently behind him. Zane jumped, spun, and realized she was always exactly where he wasn't expecting. How is she everywhere? He gasped. His brain tried to process strategy, but his body betrayed him with clumsy improvisation. The adult double meaning wasn't lost on him either. Everywhere, and apparently, watching everything. He attempted a more subtle approach, sneaking along the walls, hoping for distraction. The AI chimed. Caution, human! Subtlety is not your strong suit. Zane groaned, tripping over a loose cable again. Sparks sizzled and a holographic panel lit up with his face on display, literally labeling him. Clumsy human number 37. He grumbled. Not subtle. Not even close. I'm a disaster, apparently. The Catwoman flicked her ears as if in approval, or perhaps mockery. He couldn't tell which. The chase became increasingly absurd. He tried the ventilation shafts, but they twisted like a puzzle, each turn blocked or narrowing unexpectedly. He looked back to see her tail swishing just inside the nearest vent opening, and he realized, half panicked, half amused, that she enjoyed this as much as he hated it. She's laughing at me, right? He whispered, tripping into a pile of alien tools. Probably. Definitely. Yep. His human instincts kicked in. He began improvising solutions, using gadgets as decoys, tossing lights, spinning panels, and leveraging his body weight to create distractions. Each move was exaggerated, comic, and increasingly adult in innuendo. If she's playing a game of cat and mouse, I'll at least win a point for creativity, maybe a minor victory for endurance, definitely a moral victory for stupidity. Sparks erupted, holograms danced across walls, and the AI sighed again. Humans always dramatizing. And somehow, entertaining. The Catwoman shifted tactics. Instead of blocking him outright, she set small challenges. He had to leap over laser beams, duck spinning alien gadgets, and even solve puzzles mid-motion. The adult comedy edge emerged as every challenge had double entendres built in. Handling the spikes, penetrating the locks, keeping your balance under pressure. Zane muttered. I swear, if she had a voice, it would be making everything sound twice as suggestive as it is. He paused for a second, leaning against the console, chest heaving. All right, think, Zane. You're a human. You're clever. You survive everything else, why not this? The AI buzzed, almost cheerfully. Bold words. Human optimism is amusing. Zane smirked. Amusing? Sure. But watch closely, Tech. Humans adapt. We improvise. And occasionally, we stumble spectacularly while still winning. He tried an audacious maneuver, using a reflective panel to mislead the Catwoman into a misstep. It worked, partially. She twitched, adjusted, and then laughed again, or something resembling laughter, purring through the vents, over the consoles, everywhere at once. Zane realized she was enjoying the chaos just as much as the challenge itself. He muttered, She's not just a test, she's entertainment. And apparently I'm the star act. Every human flaw, impulsiveness, clumsiness, overconfidence, was exaggerated for comedic effect, each mistake a stepping stone for clever improvisation. Zane ducked, rolled, and leapt again, a blur of awkward agility. He used a stray cable to swing, spun around a console to avoid contact, and nearly collided with the AI's central unit, which blinked warnings. Human reckless. Catwoman delighted. Finally, he paused, breathless, realizing the futility of brute force. He needed wit, subtlety, and yes, a bit of charm. All right, he whispered. Let's try a different approach. Maybe negotiation? The tail flicked once, sharply, almost impatiently. The AI sighed. Negotiation? Bold human? Or foolish? Perhaps both. Zane smiled despite himself. The chase, the traps, the double meanings, the absurdity, it all made him feel alive. And maybe, just maybe, the Catwoman wasn't an enemy, but a test of everything humans excel at: creativity, boldness, adaptability, and occasionally, a flair for ridiculous, adult humor. He straightened up, adjusted his jacket, and whispered to the empty corridor. All right, challenge accepted. Let's see if humans can outsmart a cat who knows exactly how to push all the right buttons. He didn't notice the tail twitching closer, signaling that the next round would be far more intimate, engaging, and hilariously perilous. Zane paused, chest heaving, realizing the chase had become an endless loop. Every door, vent, and corridor led him back to the Catwoman's teasing presence. Her tail flicked from a distance, every movement deliberate, almost mocking. He muttered, All right. I've tried speed, stealth, and brute force. Time for creativity. Time to improvise. His hands brushed a console, a stray cable dangling enticingly. Sparks sizzled, and the AI chimed. Human ingenuity, or reckless improvisation. Let's see. He grabbed the cable, swinging it toward a nearby panel, creating a distraction. The lights flickered, the air shimmered, and the Catwoman reacted instantly, pouncing with flawless timing. Zane ducked, rolled, and used the momentum to spring over a console. Adult humor bubbled up as he muttered, Who knew survival could feel like this? His words carried the double meaning the AI noted, causing the system to emit a faint digital chuckle. Every obstacle she threw became a chance for him to improvise. Alien tech meant to trap became tools. A spinning holographic projector gave him cover, a laser emitter acted as a decoy, and stray cables became swinging ropes. He realized human adaptability was his strongest weapon, even if it looked ridiculous. The Catwoman's eyes glimmered with amusement, tail curling in approval, or was it challenge? Zane couldn't tell, but he smirked. If she's testing my wit, she's in for a treat. The AI's voice interjected, dripping with sardonic humor. Humans always resort to improvisation. Sometimes genius, sometimes chaos. You are both. Zane laughed nervously, dodging another swipe from the feline sentinel. Genius or chaos, sounds about right. Let's hope it leans toward genius. His pride, slightly bruised from earlier clumsiness, demanded he prove humans were more than stumbling animals. He noticed subtle details in her behavior. The tilt of her head before a pounce, the swish of her tail before a jump, the glint in her eye before she triggered a trap. He began predicting her moves, blending instinct with observation. Adult humor crept in again as he whispered, Every flick of the tail, not just for balance, huh? Sparks sizzled nearby as a loose panel clattered. The AI responded with a hint of amusement. You notice everything. Zane grinned. Everything worth noticing. Zane experimented with misdirection. He tossed the glowing object to the far end of the corridor. The Catwoman's attention followed instantly. Using the moment, he slid along a railing, narrowly avoiding spinning alien spikes. The adult double meaning was irresistible. Distract the cat, and maybe distract myself from thinking about other things, he muttered. The AI didn't comment this time, but the lights flickered like a digital wink. He tried more daring improvisation. Using a reflective panel, he created illusions of movement, tricking the Catwoman into attacking shadows. Sparks flew. Holograms danced. His heart pounded, every motion a mix of strategy, desperation, and comic timing. Okay, he whispered, catching his breath. If humans are supposed to be clever, this is it. This is the clever part. The Catwoman adjusted, clearly impressed. She leapt onto a control console, tail curling provocatively as if teasing, not threatening. Zane realized the challenge wasn't just survival. It was a test of composure, wit, and subtle charm. Adult humor and HFY merged seamlessly. His human traits, his flaws, and his ingenuity were all under scrutiny. "All right, Zane," he muttered. "Time to impress without making a complete fool of yourself." He took a calculated risk, tapping a sequence on a control panel that opened a section of the floor. It revealed a narrow passage. He glanced at the Catwoman. She crouched, ears twitching, tail flicking in anticipation. Adult double meanings slipped in again. "Step carefully, one misstep and she's on top of you in more ways than one." He swallowed and proceeded, using every ounce of agility and human cunning. Halfway through the passage, a spinning blade descended. Zane ducked, twisted, and swung on a dangling cable, narrowly avoiding it. The Catwoman mirrored his moves with fluid grace, tail brushing dangerously close. His heartbeat raced, not just from fear, but from the absurdly flirtatious tension of it all. He whispered, "This is like acrobatics with stakes. High stakes. And high entertainment value." He improvised further, rolling onto a holographic console to gain leverage, pushing a panel that shifted the floor beneath her. She paused, swaying gracefully, then adjusted midair, almost mocking him. Zane chuckled nervously. "She's testing my limits, mentally, physically, and morally, probably." The AI's tone shifted, low and amused. "Humans, fascinating combination of audacity and foolishness. Keep going." Zane realized the final challenge was coming. Every previous misstep, improvisation, and miscalculation had led here. He needed to think like a human but act like something more, daring, unpredictable, audacious. Adult humor sharpened as he whispered, "This is it. One big gamble, and maybe one small, strategic, distraction." He eyed the Catwoman, aware that every movement had double implications, every step an opportunity to survive or overextend. He lunged forward, activating a console with precise timing, sending a series of holograms spinning toward her. The Catwoman pounced instinctively, narrowly missing the illusions. Zane used the moment to spring past her, rolling onto a nearby platform. He laughed breathlessly, realizing that human creativity had finally carved a small advantage. The AI's voice sighed approvingly. "Human ingenuity prevails, for now." The Catwoman landed elegantly, tail flicking with subtle amusement. Zane straightened, realizing the test wasn't just about strength, speed, or reflexes. It was about human adaptability, boldness, and the willingness to improvise under absurdly adult-charged circumstances. He smirked, muttering, "Humans may stumble, sweat, and overthink, but we survive. And sometimes, we make it look ridiculously entertaining." Every move now felt deliberate, every improvisation a statement. Zane understood that the Catwoman's challenge was both literal and symbolic. Humanity's ingenuity, humor, and audacity were being measured against something sharper, faster, and wittier than him. Yet he also realized that these human traits, messy, flawed, audacious, gave him an edge she couldn't entirely anticipate. Adult humor lurked in every step, every glance, every carefully calculated distraction. As he paused for a breath, leaning against the console, the Catwoman crouched opposite him. Her eyes glimmered with approval, tail curling in subtle mockery. Zane whispered to himself, "All right, humans can improvise, adapt, and survive. And maybe, just maybe, we can entertain ourselves while doing it." Sparks sizzled from the control panels, the holograms danced, and the AI's final words for now floated through the corridor. "Human, audacious, messy, and surprisingly clever. Proceed carefully." Zane straightened, chest heaving, adrenaline pumping, and prepared for the final phase. He knew he had passed the first true test of ingenuity. But the real challenge, adult, comedic, and HY in equal measure, was still ahead. And this time, he wouldn't just survive. He would prove that human adaptability, wit, and audacious humor could outmatch even the most agile, teasing, and genetically engineered Catwoman. Zane straightened, shoulders tight with anticipation, knowing the final challenge was about to begin. The Catwoman crouched opposite him, tail swishing lazily, eyes glimmering with amusement. She wasn't just testing him anymore, she was orchestrating a performance, and he was the unwilling star. He muttered, Alright, time to finish this without tripping, electrocuting myself, or whatever else she has planned. The AI buzzed, dry and sardonic. Humans are dramatic. Enjoy your climax. He stepped carefully, calculating every motion. The floor beneath him hummed, responding to pressure sensors, and holographic projections shifted in sync with his movements. Adult double entendre flashed in his mind. Step lightly, one wrong move and she's on top of you, literally or figuratively. He swallowed, reminded that the stakes were both survival and sheer humiliation, with a dash of absurd erotic tension. The Catwoman flicked her tail, activating a series of holographic traps. They were both puzzles and provocations, spinning barriers, shifting platforms, and glowing runes that hinted at forbidden actions if touched. Zane ducked and weaved, improvising as he had before, using panels, cables, and stray gadgets as props. The adult humor came naturally. Handle carefully, every touch is potentially catastrophic, and morally compromising. He grinned, realizing that she was testing his wit as much as his dexterity. He leapt onto a moving platform, narrowly avoiding a cascade of blinking alien devices. Sparks flew, casting shadows that made the Catwoman's silhouette even more hypnotic. She swayed, tail flicking, clearly delighted at his predicament. Zane muttered, "She's enjoying this, every stumble, every gasp, probably my pride too." The AI's voice, nearly amused, replied, "Human pride, easily bruised, endlessly entertaining." Zane chuckled breathlessly. "Guess I'm providing prime content then." The final obstacle appeared, a narrow corridor lined with pressure-sensitive panels and holographic illusions. One misstep could trigger a cascade of alarms, spinning lasers, or a very literal slap from the Catwoman's tail. He calculated, pivoted, and slid along the panels, timing every move with human audacity and instinct. Adult humor surged. Precision required, fingers, feet, and possibly ego. Each step was a blend of skill, improvisation, and comedic flair. Midway, the Catwoman dropped a device that created a mirror image of him, forcing him to differentiate reality from illusion. He laughed nervously, muttering, "Great, now I have to outsmart myself, too." Sparks flew as he tapped consoles to identify the correct path. The adult double meaning wasn't lost. Outsmart yourself, and maybe the one trailing you closely in every sense. He twisted and rolled, narrowly avoiding holographic claws that swiped at him with perfect timing. The corridor opened into a wide chamber, glowing faintly with alien luminescence. Zane realized this was the final showdown, the Catwoman poised, tail curling provocatively, eyes gleaming with expectation. He swallowed, knowing this wasn't just about surviving physical obstacles anymore. It was a test of ingenuity, nerve, and humor. Adult tension fused with HFY heroism. Humans, messy and audacious, facing a challenge meant to humble them, yet showing resilience and cleverness. He surveyed the room, spotting environmental tools he could leverage: cables, panels, projectors, and loose holographic emitters. Timing became everything. He tossed a panel to create a reflective decoy, swung on a dangling cable to bypass a trap, and tapped sequences on consoles to trigger moving platforms. The Catwoman followed seamlessly, every action precise, every pause deliberate, tail swishing like punctuation. Zane whispered, "Okay, human ingenuity, audacity, and sheer ridiculousness, now or never." He made a daring move, springing across the chamber using a cable while spinning a holographic projector to create chaos. The Catwoman leapt to intercept him but misjudged the reflection. Sparks danced, alarms chimed faintly, and Zane landed, grinning despite the adrenaline. Adult humor lingered. Careful, one misstep and everything, including dignity, could collapse. He caught his breath, realizing the human edge wasn't raw power, but creativity, adaptability, and bold audacity. The Catwoman paused, tail flicking slowly, eyes narrowing in consideration. She tilted her head, as if acknowledging his ingenuity. Zane muttered, "Finally, respect, or whatever this is." The AI chimed, amused. "Human, messy, audacious, surviving, impressively. Continue if you dare." He exhaled, realizing he had passed the practical part of the test. The final challenge was psychological: confidence, wit, and humor. He approached her cautiously, aware that any misstep could undo all he'd accomplished. The adult double entendre became literal when he reached out to deactivate a holographic trap, and the Catwoman reacted with a flick of her tail that nearly knocked him off balance. He chuckled. "I see, she's testing every angle, literally." Sparks sizzled as he balanced, adapted, and maintained composure, knowing human creativity was at its peak when challenged absurdly and audaciously. The Catwoman finally backed, crouching elegantly, and Zane realized the unspoken acknowledgement: humans are unpredictable, messy, and audacious, and that unpredictability could triumph over perfect engineering. He grinned, muttering, "She underestimated humans, audacity wins." The tail flicked once, slowly, almost approvingly, signaling the challenge's conclusion. Zane straightened, chest heaving, adrenaline still racing. Adult humor lingered in every thought. Survive a cat, and somehow keep your dignity intact. He chuckled at the absurdity, realizing that human traits, messy, flawed, and ridiculous, were also strengths. The Catwoman circled slowly, tail swishing, letting him understand that his wit, courage, and improvisation had earned a begrudging respect. He moved toward the exit, thinking freedom had arrived, only to hear a soft, teasing meow echo behind him. He froze, realizing the Catwoman hadn't truly let him leave. The humor hit him fully: the test, the chase, the absurd adult tension. It wasn't just survival. It was a lesson in adaptability, resilience, and audacious creativity. HFY triumph wasn't about leaving unscathed. It was about facing impossible odds, laughing at them, and still finding clever solutions. Zane exhaled slowly, a grin spreading. "All right. I get it. Humans survive, and entertain themselves doing it." The Catwoman's tail flicked again, closer this time, and he realized the playful challenge wasn't over, just evolved. Every misstep, every improvisation, every double-meaning joke had led to this, a fragile truce between human audacity and feline perfection. The AI buzzed softly, final words tinged with admiration. "Human, messy, flawed, audacious, yet undeniably clever. Proceed carefully." Zane laughed quietly, adjusting his jacket and muttering, "Carefully, sure, but creatively, boldly, and ridiculously." The Catwoman watched, tail curling like punctuation on the end of a sentence, eyes gleaming with teasing amusement. He knew he hadn't fully escaped. Not physically, not mentally, and certainly not comically. But he had survived, adapted, and proven that humans, messy, flawed, absurd humans, could outwit, outmaneuver, and even out-entertain a genetically engineered cat-human sentinel. Adult humor lingered in his thoughts, double entendre unspoken yet understood. He entered an empty house. But a Catwoman won't let him escape, HFY.